Good evening, friends. This is Rahul Magan here, is a Group Chief Executive Officer of Treasury Consulting and also a venture capitalist. Today, we're going to shoot a very important video about one of the important things which has happened in India, which is jet bankruptcy. I'm not going to speak about jet bankruptcy. I'm not going to speak about that 24,000 jobs are at stake. Because I know one thing, that Indian entrepreneurship is dead. India is heading towards a bankrupt economy. By 2000, somewhere in 2013, in one of the conferences in Mumbai, I gave a statement that by 2025, India would be a bankrupt economy. And I recall rightly that most of the people at that point of time laughed on me in that conference and come to me that you are, I was I think 27 at that point of time, 27, 28, you are 27, 28, don't have even 10 years of work experience in your belly, and you are giving that big statement. And now I'm telling you, everything is right in your front. You wait for 2025, and out of 100, more than 80 people would be unemployed in India. I'm giving you in writing. Before 2025, out of 100, more than 80 people would be unemployed in India, and majority of the MBA colleges, so-called engineering colleges, would be winded up because they would have no job to give in India. This is where are you heading? But I'm not here to give my forecast about Indian economy, because a lot of times I've given my forecast and you know the accuracy of that forecast. Today we're going to speak about the jet. You know, an airline who ruled for 25 years in the sky, according to media. Oh, sorry, according to paid media. I don't call them media, I call them paid media. You know, Indian media has reached to a level when you pay and you get anything. Let me tell you a small story here. You feel that, few weeks ago, just 1 week ago, one of the media channels in India came here in Singapore, and they are doing something in Singapore. I don't want to tell something more about that. And they literally indirectly asked for sponsorship. This is Indian media. So you came to Singapore, you're doing some event, I don't want to give the name, and they literally asked for sponsorship. This is Indian media. And this is how Indian media runs. So they have diluted everything in India, and now their target is Singapore. But they're forgetting that Singapore is not India. Singapore operates differently than India is. But anyways, let's come back to topic, which is jet. I would like to raise few questions about the jet insolvency and bankruptcy. First of all, in 2016, when the insolvency and bankruptcy court came into picture, and I was invited by Institute of Company Secretary of India, then President Madam Mamta Binani ji. In fact, in her presence, I gave a bold statement that insolvency and bankruptcy code is not what it should be. And result, you know, insolvency and bankruptcy code is not resolving any purpose right now for India. Rather, it has messed it up. If I go with the Indian reports, Indian media, which is I call the paid media, out of so-called bankruptcy cases, only 3 has got resolved as yet. Only 3. And these 3 not got completely resolved as yet. But I would like to draw your attention to something which this so-called paid media is not talking to you. Behind every bankruptcy, there are 2 things. One which is on the books, one which is off the books. So generally people have a very myopic view. In English, the meaning of the myopic means the limited view. Generally people have a myopic view. They wanted to see something which is on the books. So example, according to the few reports which are coming in the public domain, that Jet Airways bankruptcy led to almost $1 billion of hole in the banking books. And you already know that Indian banks are completely red. It's more red than the t-shirt which I'm wearing, right? It's more red than that. It's a light red. They are dark red. And $1 billion would again make them messed it up. But that's not something which I wanted to discuss. This is on balance sheet, which people look at that. Behind every bankruptcy, there is another scene. Like every coin would have two parts, head and tail, you know. One is on balance sheet and one is off balance sheet. What is off balance sheet is that every company in the globe is having off balance sheet exposure, which is credit guarantees. And there are multiple kind of credit guarantees which you have. Example, letter of credit, standby letter of credit, direct pay letter of credit, subordinate bonds, and whatnot. Being in airline industry, Jet Airways is having a lot of credit guarantees in place. There is no doubt about that. You're most welcome to visit their annual report and you can check. And apparently speaking, these credit guarantees are given by the Indian banks. And we also need to appreciate that no bank will give the credit guarantee from his own pocket. Rather, they have some interbank lines in place. Example, if today you take a line of credit from ICICI Bank, it is not ICICI Bank who is giving the line of credit, rather the interbank partner of ICICI Bank who is giving you the line of credit. So if Jet defaults, that line of credit would be hit. Not only, it would have three impacts. Number one, of course, the so-called 22,000 jobs would anyways go. That is sure. There is no doubt about that. The mess up has already been created. Media reports suggesting that the pilots and the other supporting staffs are not being able to even give EMIs of their kids, the student fees, and messed up has already been created. There is no doubt about that. Another is the Jet default would make sure that the bank's non-performing assets, which are already in red, would be more red, and it might end up to the wind up of few banks. And third important thing, it would hit the interbank positioning of the bank. Now let me put this via an example. Now you have so many credit guarantees in the book. Let me tell you from this perspective, I would like to add multiple companies in this part. Example, few recent bankruptcies and big numbers, Although I would like to clarify one thing, I hardly trust the numbers which is being quoted by the Indian media, including bankruptcies like Videocon, bankruptcies like ILFS, bankruptcies like Z Group, bankruptcies of Sahara, bankruptcies of JP, and now you have Jet Airways. And this is the top 5-6 numbers. Unlike ice, if you float the ice in the water, you only see 10%, but the 90% of that ice is inside. I hope you remember the Titanic movie, right? The sailor did the same mistake. He even after 26 years of experience, he realized that the ice component which is above the water is just 10%. So he would be able to bypass. But end result, Titanic. That is what Titanic is known for. Although it's my favorite movie, it's a love story, right? But one example is the same thing we have in the bankruptcy. If, according to my estimate, Videocon bankruptcy is not less than 2 lakh crores. This is what my personal intervention. And ILFS bankruptcy is not less than 1,50,000 crores. I went through their annual reports and I fully sure that the numbers which they are giving in the annual report is 100% fudged up numbers. It's fake numbers which they are giving, and the auditors are in sync with them. Like we have a lot of examples of these big fours. ILFS is being by Deloitte, and I'm 200% sure that big fours are in sync with that bankruptcy. Apart from that, one important thing which I also would like to imply, that if these companies would go bankrupt, then the credit agreements structure, which is trade finance structures in India, would be messed it up. After Nirav Modi, we saw that Reserve Bank of India immediately banned the letter of credit and buyer's credit and number of different instruments. This creates a lot of scene in India. Thus, this issue went to the parliamentary committee. Parliamentary committee asked Reserve Bank governor to come on place and give and have his view. Why did he did that? But you know that Reserve Bank of governor is not by qualification; it is by choice. So at end result, thousands of small and medium-term enterprises today died because these credit agreements are not in place. Right? One mistake by Nirav Modi, and thousands of small and medium-term enterprises are already died, and many are about to. Similarly, if these bankruptcies would continue, then I'm damn sure that 3 years, maximum 2 years down the line, the credit agreements like standby letter of credit, direct pay letter of credit, subordinate bonds, and all these things would be mystery in India. They would only be in the books. Nobody would know that how exactly they do operate. And apparently speaking, to have these letter of credits, you need to go to non-deliverable markets like Singapore, where we are already, right? And I'm damn sure that if these, things would continue, then Singapore, countries like Singapore and another like Korea, they would 200% raise their hands that we are not giving any lines because they don't want to have mess up in their own country. As simple as that. Alternatively, the jet crisis would create one more issue, which is a relationship between lessor and lessee. I don't know how many you know about aviation leasing, because Treasury Consulting right now setting up the defense desk, and defense desk would be the first, we would be the first non-banking company who would have defense desk, and this defense desk would be coming somewhere in August. It would be very tough for me to have this desk, trust me, because maritime business is also including and whatnot actually, but I will try, and I will try my best, and desk is coming anyways. But one important thing is that in this desk we have one more thing, which is the aviation leasing. It's being wrongly concluded that most of the airlines have all the planes in their books. No, it's leased, right? It's known as aviation leasing. And in the interest of time, I cannot tell you that everything about the aviation leasing in 5 to 10 minutes of the video. But if Jet Airways default, we need to go one level back and we need to see Kingfisher. In the case of Kingfisher, companies lost, the lessors lost number of planes because they said you leased it out. Now, I don't know how many people know the meaning of lessor. Lessor means the landlord. Actually, if you hold this property, you leased it out to somebody who is known as leasing actually. So lessor went to government, and you know how good the government of India is. Lessor said that, boss, you grounded this plane because of your reason, right? Now my income is zero. You leased it out from me and I bought it from somebody. In most of the time, people believe that, and this is the wrong notion, that Airbus and Boeing are the lessors. No, sir, they are not the lessors. Airbus and Boeing are the manufacturers of the plane. They are not the lessors. People tend to believe that Airbus makes the plane or Boeing makes the plane. They leased it out to Kingfisher, they leased it out to Etihad, Emirates, Lufthansa, Jet Airways, and my favorite, Qantas, Singapore Airlines. No, they do that business, but the component of that business is relatively very small. It's 5 to 10%. On the contrary, the major income of them is the operations. They make the plane and sell it out to the people. But lessors, so ultimately, if this is Airbus and Boeing, this is Qantas, between you have the lessor who hold it out. If such bankruptcies would continue in the aviation sector, and we have seen that India is turning out to be a place where aviation is a mess, Air India. Today there is a news that Air India needs 9,000 crores immediately. I don't know why numbers is always in thousands of crores. That I fail to understand. Air India need 9,000 crores to pay to vendors. Boss, how long we continue to feed these white elephants for the sake of public sector concerns? I don't know, but still. And I'm sure government will give that money. But apparently speaking, if India turned out to be a battleground for these airlines, then I'm damn sure that lessors at a point of time would raise their hands. And they will say, you might be Indigo, you might be Air India, you might be Jet Airways, you might be different airlines which are operating like Silk Air and all other. We will not give any planes to you. Now, to wind up this video, I would like to wind up this video with two questions. Question number one, is the Jet bankruptcy can only be looked from the angle of 24,000 jobs? I have deep empathy from them. That doesn't mean I don't have any empathy for them. Is the Jet crisis is the only way to look Jet crisis is the 24,000 jobs, or the $1 billion of bankruptcy with the so-called paid media is saying? Or alternatively, is the Jet crisis can be seen from the angle of the credit guarantees they have in the books? And sitting today, nobody knows the amount of credit guarantee we have in the books of Jet. Or third thing, are we really willing to look from a third angle? And that angle is the Jet crisis initiate a wind up of the lessor and lessee relationship in the aviation sector in India? Choice is yours. I'm looking the Jet crisis from all three angles. And I know that although I have a deep respect for Indigo, I know that Indigo is a profitable airlines, but sooner or later, Indigo will face the heat as well. And God knows, Air India would be winded up 1 year or 2 years down the line. With this, Treasury Consulting would like to thank you very much, but with the notion that make a habit of look things differently. Don't go with this paid media. Rest is up to you. You know that we have a WhatsApp group wherein we speak all these topics innovatively, frankly, not worried about any central bank, any reserve bank. If you think you have credentials in place, you think that you are able to participate in this group, you're welcome to WhatsApp me. My number is 919899242978. You know our fixed income platform, www.fixedincome.global. Thank you and have a wonderful time.